started with a man whose idea became the plan, helping special people know no limitations. And today, where we stand, his dream is in our hands. We're on the road beyond expectation.
Welcome to the 2005 Crim Festival of Races Sports and Fitness Expo, presented by Standard Federal Bank this year. Our topic for this session of our Speakers Forum is Women in Running and how we've changed the sport.
As I was preparing for my speech, I decided that I probably should have titled it just a little bit better and called it Women in Distance Running. It wasn't until just recently that women were accepted into distance running, and I'm going to tell you about that. It wasn't until 1966 when the first woman participated in the Boston Marathon. What she did was hide in the bushes, and when the race started, she jumped in and she took off with them. The official party line became that she finished on their course. She didn't finish their race. But it was 70 years after the very first Boston Marathon that a woman gained distinction for running the race. They radioed back to the race director, a man named Jock Semple, and they said, "Hey, Jock, we got a woman out here." He jumped off, he ran across, he tried to grab her bib number and rip it off her, and the next morning that picture was in every sports section of every major newspaper. It was on the cover of Sports Illustrated that year. And in 1967, a woman completed the Boston Marathon. In 1970, the first woman to run the New York Marathon was a lady named Nina Kusick. And nobody made any big deal about it, and she started the race and didn't finish, and okay, that was the first woman in the New York Marathon. However, 2 years later, she and several other women wanted to participate, and when they got to the race, they were told that the women were going to be given a 10-minute head start. Well, for those of you that were around in the early 70s, equality was what it was all about. And so she got all the men and the few women that were there, and they did a sit-down strike right on the start line of the New York Marathon. And that was the year that 2 women finished the New York Marathon. There was never a marathon for women in the Olympics until 1984. There's a couple people here in the Crim organization that have changed the face of running for women. Lois Craig was involved in a decision that eventually changed the Olympics, and if you've read Michigan Runner in the last couple months, you've read this article written by Greg Meyer. But back in 1981, there was a group called the Athletic Congress, and they were the governing body that decided who got to go to the Olympics and who didn't. And they had ruled that only amateurs could participate in the Olympics, and if you had participated in a race with prize money or accepted prize money, you were no longer an amateur. So in 1981, Greg Meyer, who's now the Crim Elite Athlete Coordinator, and a fine runner named Herb Lindsay, had just won first and second place in a race out in Oregon called the Cascade Runoff, and they'd accepted their prize money. They got to Flint, and they were ready to run the Crim, and the rest of the athletes came to Lois and said, "Hey, wait a minute." Well, Lois and Bobby talked it over and decided, you know what, that wasn't right. So what they did is they allowed Herb and Greg to run. They told the other runners if they didn't like it, that they could not participate. Well, eventually the TAC had to back off on their position. People who had run and accepted prize money could then be allowed to run in the Olympics. And if you think about it and take it to its logical conclusion, that's why we're seeing professional basketball players in the Olympics today, because of a decision that was made right here in Flint, Michigan. Ann and her husband John own Galt Race Management, which is a race scoring business, and they are excellent successes. They are highly renowned in their business, and they score races all over the country. And then as for me, my claim to fame is that I was the very first woman that was elected to the board of directors of Running USA, which is the national trade organization that represents the running industry. Flint's turning out some pretty strong women here as far as I'm concerned. There is distinctly a link between running for charity and women's participation in our sport. 2 of the most successful charity ventures have been the Coleman Race for the Cure Series and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Team in Training. Finishing today, what I just want to say is when you're out there towing the line tomorrow, whether you're doing the 10 mile, the 8K, the 5K, if you're walking, running, doing the 1 mile, just remember this. It was only 38 years ago that a race director didn't give second thought to running out and trying to rip the bib off of a woman and physically take her out of the race. I'd say we've come an awful long way. Let's not stop now.
Welcome to the 27th Annual Michigan Runner of the Year Awards. Laurie Decker. Laurie has a number of great race scores to her credit. She was the first master at the Riverbank Run. She was the first master at the Bees Lake 10K. She was the first master at the Bull Swap 20K. And at the Crim last year, she was 50th overall and the first Michigan woman to finish in a really hot 3:13 something at the Boston Marathon. Laurie, congratulations. Kyle O'Brien. I first met Kyle when he was finishing the Free Press Marathon as the first American, first Michigan runner in 2:20:21. And you also had some other pretty good accomplishments. Was finishing the Grosse Ile 8K as first one in 24:49. Kyle, you are a great credit to the Hanson running team, and good luck in your next running adventures. Betsy Friends has been winning races in Michigan since you were maybe 3, right? Betsy was first in the Deamer race at 17:05, won points in the Reeds Lake 10K where you finished in 36:38. That was after you had already won the 5K. And you were the first Michigan runner at the Crim last year, and get this time, everybody, 58:58. Some of us don't really dream about that. Suzanne Larson. Suzanne and Betsy tied, actually. Suzanne ran 35 races last year and won 15 of them. First in the Grosse Ile 8K. You were first Michigan runner at Steve's Run. This is a trail race and it's really tough. And you were the second Michigan runner at the Borges Half Marathon. In the Cherry Festival, you ran that 15K in an hour and 37 seconds. You set your PR at the Crim last year in 1:05:52. Is Brian Olson here? Haven't seen him. If anybody sees him, tell him we got an award for him. Brian was the Master Runner of the Year, first Michigan Master in the Corktown 4 Mile, in the Borges Half Marathon. In the Grosse Ile race, he ran that in 27:01. At Steve's Run, he ran that trail 10K in 35:34. And he was the second Michigan Master at the Crim in 1:32:11. Doug Goodhue, you are in the toughest age group in Michigan. You're in that Michigan Grand Masters group where everybody runs faster than everybody else in the country.
See the pride on every face, oh, in this human race. Hit the bricks and feel the spirit.